Hello and welcome. In this video we'll be covering while loops and do while loops. While loops in Java and many other programming languages are used to do something while a certain condition is met. So while something is occurring, while something is going on, you want to go ahead and do other stuff for the length of that condition being met. So for example, this example I have right here, we have a boolean named gas pedal pressed and set it equal to true, and we have an integer called speed and we set it equal to 0. What we're doing is we have a while loop that's checking while the gas pedal is pressed, and this is a shorthand way of saying while gas pedal pressed is true. That and this are the same thing. We're going to go ahead and add 1 to speed. So speed plus plus is the same thing as saying speed equals speed plus 1, which just means you're adding 1 to speed every time. And then we have an if statement in here, and this is very important and probably the most noteworthy thing when using while loops, that checks if speed is greater than 3, we set gas pedal pressed equal to false. And the importance of this is that we need a way to exit the while loop. We need a way to make gas pedal pressed false, because if it's never false, then it's always true, which means it's always going to stay in the while loop. It will go on forever. So the number one thing to remember while using while loops is that you need a condition that breaks the condition it's checking, or it's just going to go on, like I said, forever. So in this case, we'll go ahead, computer will see we have this boolean, we have this int, then we'll go to the while loop. We'll say, okay, while gas pedal pressed, which means while gas pedal pressed is true, it is true, so the condition is met. It's going to go in, it's going to add 1 to speed, so instead of 0, speed is going to be 1. Then it's going to check, is 1 greater than 3? No, it's not. So we're not going to go into this if statement, and then we'll check the while again. Is gas pedal pressed still true? Yes, it is. So we're going to add 1 to speed again. Speed is now 2. 2 is not greater than 3, so it's going to skip it. Then it'll go back to the while. Gas pedal pressed is true. Add 1 to speed. Now it's 3. 3 is not greater than 3, so it's going to skip it. Check it one more time. True. Add 1 to speed. 4 is greater than 3, so then we're going to set gas pedal pressed equal to false. And then when we go to check it again, gas pedal pressed is not true anymore, it's false, so then we're done with that while loop. If this wasn't here though, then, like I said, it would go on forever, so that's important. Then for a do while loop, very similar to a while loop, it's basically just instead of checking the condition in the beginning, it's checking it at the end, which means that at least one time the code inside the while loop will be executed. So let's take a look at an example for that. First, I made a little note to tell you guys is we reset gas pedal pressed to true and speed to 0. And note we don't have boolean and integer in front of them because we already declared that variable. So remember, once you declare a variable like this, you create it for the first time and you tell it it's a boolean, it's an int, you don't have to reference if it's a boolean or an integer anymore. So this is a do while loop right here. As you can see, we're checking the while at the end now. So when it goes into it, it's going to add 1 to speed, and then it's going to check if this is true. So right here, it will say do speed plus plus, which is the same thing as speed equals speed plus 1. So instead of 0, it's going to be 1. Then it's going to check if gas pedal is pressed, and it is. So then it'll go around again, it'll add 1 to speed, and it'll keep going, and in this case on forever, because there's no condition that makes it false. So, like we did up here, we would have to go ahead and do something similar down here to get out of this do while loop. But in this case, let's say, and this is a shorthand way of saying, putting an exclamation point in front of it is a shorthand way of saying is not true, or you could do the same thing as equals false. So basically, shorthand way of that, just like we have a shorthand way of true, is putting an exclamation point in front of it. So let's say we don't, we have this case, so it's true. You know, gas pedal press is true, speed is 0, do adds 1 to speed, speed is now 1, speed is not greater than 3, so we don't check this if. But then we see this while, and it says while gas pedal press is false, it's true, it'll just keep going. So speed will get an increase of 1 in value, but it won't go into the while loop actually. So basically what I'm trying to say is that speed will at least have 1 added to it. Speed will come out of this at least at the value 1. But really, do while is just, you know, it's checking the value at the end instead of the beginning. That's all it is compared to a regular while loop. And they're not used as much as while loops. While loops are much more used than do while loops. I don't really see a lot of, you know, places in code where I do a do while loop instead of a while loop, or there's something that I need to do that, you know, it requires a do while loop. So you probably won't use that as much, but it's good to know. But essentially, that's what while loops are in Java, and it's very similar in other programming languages. Just like if statements, you can check multiple conditions. So like, for example, we could do or speed 0. So we could check if gas pedal press is true or speed is equal to 0. As long as one of those are true, this whole thing's true. And we could use ands as well. So if gas pedal press is true and speed is 0, this whole thing's true. Remember, and requires everything to be true. And then it would go in if both those were meant. And it is meant by how we declared it. So this checks conditions the same way as an if statement. It evaluates to a true or false value, which is just a Boolean expression. Anyway, thanks for watching. Our next video will be on for loops and for each loops. And I hope you stay tuned for that. Thanks.